So welcome everybody to MPQML Leading Teaching, Monday the 2nd of November 2015. Great that you're all here and I hope you're enjoying the course so far. My name's Tim McShane, I'm the Lead Online Learning Specialist for Best Practice Network, and we have here Tony Hardiker, one of our most experienced online and offline facilitators for ML and MPQSL as well. Do you want to say hello, Tony?
Good evening, everybody.
There we go. So, as I say, any questions in the question box, we'll answer them as we go through. But otherwise, as I say, sit back and I hope you enjoy this introduction to leading teaching online. All right, over to you then, Tony.
Okay, well, the way we're going to work this is we're going to take you through the course structure in the first part of the meeting, and then we'll take you to Canvas to show you how you can access the course and make best use of the materials that are in it. So if we can move on to the first slide and just talk a little bit about the first thing that we'd like you to do. When you've got notification to join the course, you'll receive probably tomorrow a notification, an email from Best Practice to say that you've been allocated to an online course and if you could join it. And once you've joined it, then the first thing we'd like you to do is to introduce yourself to the rest of the group and tell us something about your current role and the context in which you work. And you may have a particular specialism or an interest or a talent that will be particularly useful to other people who are within the online group. So if you have that, then please let us know and we'll try and make best use of it over the next 3 weeks. And then the other thing that we'd like you to do in the introduction is to describe the top 2 or 3 challenges that you're currently facing in improving the leadership of teaching in your school or setting. And that will obviously give us an opportunity to be able to reflect on what are the common experiences that people are facing within the group as we start the course. If we move on, the next slide that you're going to see, you'll remember from day one, and it's the fundamental learning approach of the MPQML. And so if you remember, we talked you through where you are at the moment in terms of the targets you want to set. You're currently working on your action plans, both for you on a personal basis and indeed in terms of your school improvement work. You'll be moving on to putting them into action. But throughout the process, I hope we encourage you to remember to reflect on your actions and the progress you're making, particularly in your learning log, and that will take you towards the end of the program where you're asking questions about how well you've developed and how much progress you've made. Leading Teaching asks you to follow a similar process in relation to identifying how leaders can develop teaching, and so therefore you'll find that the process that's described there is one that you work your way through as you complete the course. And just to give you another insight into the importance of reflection, if we move on to the next slide, I know that other participants in the past have used this importance of reflecting model by Kolb as something which they've used for themselves and also indeed for their teams as they've got them to focus on the work that they want them to undertake. I'm going to describe it by starting at the bottom really, because it can apply to leading teaching. Over the next few weeks you'll come into contact with a number of case studies, theories about how you can develop teaching, issues around the whole aspects of how you develop excellence. And hopefully we'll bring you into contact with those kinds of concepts and encourage you to move out of the course into your own school improvement work by beginning to plan what you're going to try out and what you're going to experiment with what you've learned on leading teaching. And then that will move you into a concrete experience because you'll actually hopefully transfer your learning from the course into a plan and then into actual activity through your school improvement work. And as you will have learnt from day one, an important aspect of that is to undertake the concrete experience, do the things that you've learnt about, and at the end of it, reflect on what you've learnt, review the outcomes that you've been able to achieve with your team, and then that takes you back to, well, what do you need to do next? And having seen quite a number of draft assessments, quite a number of people find this as a useful model to use and actually refer to it when they come to write up their final assessment by saying, I learnt something about Kolb's model of reflecting, and I encourage my team to work through it as well. And at the end of it, we were able to identify what we'd learnt, what we'd done, and how much we'd developed. So it is a useful model and something that you might want to come back to throughout the next few weeks. If we move on to the next slide, this is, as you will have expected really from the last 20 minutes or so, this has been put into the slideshow by my esteemed colleague. He will say that the short course is the best of, and so if you wanted to know everything about U2, then you'd work your way through all of those albums. And it's the same with the full course that you will see that is available for you about leading teaching. But the short course, which we'll also show you tonight, is the greatest hits. So it identifies the important parts of the course that you need to see, encourages you to focus in on salient aspects of the course, encourages you to reflect on what you're learning, share your thinking both with members of the group and also with your online facilitator. So we tend to encourage people who obviously are pressed for time to work through the greatest hits model. But you can work your way through all of the albums if you want to, and get to the same point at the end. It's entirely up to you how you approach it, and Tim will show you how you can access both aspects of the course later. If we then show you this course structure, there are 3 units, so essentially each unit is completed in about 7 days. You can see that we're undertaking the online conference today, and if you can before the weekend complete the 2 pre-course activities, then you're ready to work your way through the 3 units, one of which is importance of teaching, another one focuses on understanding what outstanding teaching is, an important aspect of most leaders in schools nowadays, and then it finishes with an investigation on what are the practices required to lead teaching and ensure that the improvements you make are sustained. So you can see that it's really a practical course linked to your school improvement work and indeed the wider work that's going on in schools at the moment. And at the end of it, in about 3 weeks' time, we'll encourage you to undertake a reflection online and in your learning log, and we will ask you to evaluate the course so that you can give us some feedback about how we can improve for next time. And we've suggested some dates. They're not absolutely cast in stone, but you might want to work your way through them so that you've completed the course while you're being facilitated. There will be a facilitator online throughout those 3 weeks. They'll be responding to you, offering support and advice and challenge, and I'll come back to what their role specifically is in a little while. If we look at Unit A in a bit more detail, which is the next slide, sorry, we've covered this, which is the introductory discussion, but there is an opinion piece on what is curriculum policy, middle leadership, and the importance of middle leadership in the development of the curriculum within primary, secondary, special schools, whatever your setting is. And then there are 2 case studies, one's for primary and one's for secondary, on improving the quality of teaching. And I would advise specialist colleagues to have a look at which perhaps suits your school improvement task the most. So those are the tasks that we're asking you to do before you actually start on the course, and then we'll move to Unit A, which is, you can see there are 4 important points, and I will immediately come to an issue that we're very conscious of, particularly at this time. And that is, you can see that the 4 parts of Unit A are very much around data. So you look at closing the gap, the issues about children who might be in receipt of the pupil premium, free school meals, special needs, gender, ethnicity, those kind of things which can lead to a gap in performance. And linked to that is, in order to start to begin to address what you do about closing the gap, there's the issues about how leaders can ensure that there's consistently high quality teaching, which emanates from shared values and moral purpose, but it also links to the data that you've got available in order to start your school improvement task and measure the gaps in provision. And what as I said, we are very conscious of the situation in schools currently, particularly in primary schools. And so therefore we would ask you to consider, as you're moving through Unit A and also starting your school improvement work, to ask you to consider with your mentor and or your head and your face-to-face and online tutors what you think are the challenges and opportunities for your school improvement task following the changes to assessment in primary or secondary schools. Now, there are no definitive answers. I think, as many of us had the opportunity to discuss with you on day one, clearly there are a range of current challenges at the moment. Some schools have got answers, some are working their way towards it. So what we would advise you to do is discuss it with your online tutor, your face-to-face tutor, and someone in school who will give you perhaps some help in terms of meeting the requirements in relation to the use of data for your school improvement work and also the issues that arise in this course. If we move on to Unit B, bearing in mind that the course is about leading teaching, then we focus on what it is that makes teaching outstanding and how that comes from maximising achievement and progress, but it also requires leaders to create a culture of accountability, and that's something which I know many participants begin to consider when they're putting together their school improvement plan and also reflecting on the diagnostic in relation to the competency of holding others to account. And then, of course, and this again is a very practical link to what's happening in schools both at primary and secondary level. There's a fair amount of curriculum innovation and design going on as a result of the curriculum changes and indeed the assessment changes. So hopefully you'll get some good ideas, case studies, some theory about how you can develop the curriculum and the kind of designs that you can produce for your curriculum in relation to the culture that you're trying to achieve within your school. So as I say, it's a very practical unit which should be able to substantiate and enrich your own school improvement work. If we move on to Unit C, this is the aspect of leading teaching which is about the leadership. So what is it about good and excellent leaders which contribute to the development of high quality teaching? And again, you get the opportunity to have a look at some really useful materials such as case studies and theory, which will help you to learn and reflect on from others in order to utilize the kind of lessons that you might learn in your own school improvement work. And that then, as I say, begins to get you to concentrate on, well, okay, what have I learned from this unit? And therefore, what am I going to do in terms of the effective leadership of my team? So what are the lessons that have emerged from the 2 or 3 weeks that I've been working through the unit, and how am I going to apply them in my school improvement project? So you can see that the core issue always comes back to the practical application of what you've been learning in the unit for your work in school. So that takes us back to the Kolb model and how important it is to reflect at all stages as you go through the program in terms of what you're learning and how you can use it with your colleagues. Once you get to the end, we encourage you to review your learning and reflect on how you've developed over the 2 or 3 weeks. So a series of questions. And I would encourage you to include the answers to these questions in your learning log, because you'll find in 8, 9, 10 months time, when you come to write up your assessment, that your answers to these questions will be very useful for you to include in some of your evidence. So at the end of the course, what do you know more about than you did before? And that might be about the gaps in provision, and it may also be what you've learnt about the role of data in school improvement. And remembering the point on day 1, which is that the NPQML is one assessment with 2 outcomes. You've got in the first 2 bullet points the issues about your school improvement task, but the third one hones in on the competencies. So how have you developed your leadership? And in particular, the 2 important competencies which we looked at on day 1, and that's analytical thinking and information seeking skills, which are key competencies at the moment while you're beginning to develop your action plans and start your school improvement work. And the other question, which is how has it helped your action planning, because we will be encouraging you to do that through the course as well. And before you finish, we always will encourage you to carry out an evaluation online, so that we can look back and work out how we can develop the course in the future. Just a comment about your facilitator. You will have an online facilitator who won't be the person necessarily who you've had as your face-to-face facilitator. I think the point that I would always say when I'm working online is that we try to encourage you, to support you, and sometimes to challenge you, to say, okay, can we push you a little bit further in terms of the responses that you've made, in order to try and get you to engage in significant learning. And hopefully that's what you'll gain over the next 3 weeks. So don't be surprised if your facilitator comes back to you and asks you questions, or says, have you thought about this, or might even advise you to go and have a look at another piece of evidence which will actually be useful for your school improvement work, or indeed your own personal development. So the facilitator is there to support, but also to offer a bit of challenge as well. And just a few points about the discussions. Obviously, we're aware of the fact that you're all busy people, so we're not looking for war and peace. What we are asking you to do is make your points succinctly, and really look at other people's as well, and particularly on the open discussions. So have a look at what other people have said. You might want to comment on a comment, so you might want to say, I agree with that, or that's not what happens in my school. And it is very useful to actually have a look at what other people are saying and reflect on it, and ask yourself what your views are about the points that are in the discussions. And then you've got also the individual discussions, and Tim will show you how to make discussions and how you make individual discussions with your online facilitator. But the individual discussions are private discussions. If we just move on, Tim. Private discussions between you and your online facilitator. And I think the experience of those of us who've done online facilitation recognise that because it is private, sometimes people want advice about their own particular context, perhaps some of the challenges that you might be experiencing with your own school improvement work in relation to the materials in the course. And therefore, you can be sure that that is a private discussion, and one which will respect your confidentiality. It does mean that your responses are collated in one space, so you can have a look at them later on in the course. Leading Teaching will remain open to you throughout the time that you're doing the NPQML, so you can come back to your responses at any time and have a look at what you how you've responded and what you've said, and indeed pick aspects up which might help your eventual assessment submission. And this is Tim's area of responsibility, not mine, but I can now assure you that if, for those of you who want to become high-tech, you don't have to actually respond via text, but you can send an audio or a video, or you can upload a pre-typed document. So Tim will show you all of those exciting opportunities in a little while. Just an aspect which sometimes worries people. Your responses are graded. They are graded in the sense that the online facilitator notes whether you've completed a response to the individual activity, and therefore that gives the opportunity for best practice to be able to monitor your work through the program so that they'll be able to ensure that you've completed this aspect of the course. So when you've actually responded and then your online facilitator has received a notification, he or she will have a look at it, mark it as complete, and more than likely respond with some thoughts in the text box, and you'll get a notification to let you know that there has been a response and that it's been marked as completed. And that just is a way in which your facilitator and best practice can ensure that you're keeping on track. And then just finally at the end, when we get to the point where you've completed all the activities, then we would ask you, as I've said, to evaluate the course. You might, if you've not already done so, have a look at the full National College module. You'll be asked to mark yourself as complete. There is a self-certification quiz, which is a fairly simple series of questions about what you've actually done during the time that you were online. And you'll be asked or reminded to submit your completed personal development plan and school improvement action plan to your face-to-face tutor by the date as agreed on day one. And I think what's fairly obvious is that different tutors had different dates depending on half term and when you actually had day one. The other final thing which I think is really important is check that you've marked as complete within your learning network grades, and that's something that you must do, otherwise you'll have worked your way through the program but not have the evidence for best practice that you've completed it. So do make sure that you're marked as complete. And also, as you're going through the course, but particularly when you've finished it, get together with your mentor to discuss what you've learnt, your thinking as a result of it, and how you're going to implement the lessons into your school improvement work and your personal development. Okay, that was a quick tour of the course, and now Tim, over to you.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Tony. So I'm going to go through live onto Canvas and just show you some of these things we've been talking about theoretically, just show you what they look like in practice. So if you just excuse me for a minute, I'm just going to get online. So just to say that tomorrow, probably tomorrow afternoon, you'll have access to your online short course, and you'll find it in your drop-down menu, and it'll look something like that. There we go. That's what I'm going to go into today. So you should get that tomorrow afternoon, and as Tony said, you'll get it alongside an email from I think some Hamish just saying it from your online facilitator actually saying, welcome, come in. So don't worry that you don't need to click any I accept the course or anything. You'll just be put straight in there. So this is the front page of your short course. You'll see it looks very similar to the Learning Network. So we've got the navigation bars along the top. There we are, home page, unit A, B, C. There's the review, and there's a way to get to the National College module. Just to say that your course it consists of a group of 25 people. There's 25 of you in here, and it's people from all over the country. So it's not the people you're doing face-to-face with, it's people from all over, and that's really important because you get a real mix and a sense of what's going on in other people's places and the challenges other people have, and also, of course, the successes other people have as well, which you can learn from. So it's all over the country. I tell you what, do you know what the first thing that people go to look at when they come into these online short courses? I'll tell you, the first thing they click on is this one here, generally, that says people, because they want to see who else is on the course. So, colleagues, just saying to you, it's a good idea if you have a nice picture next to your name so they can see you. Not saying we're trying to run some sort of dating agency here, but just to say that people do like to see who they're on the course with. And in order to do that, if you go across to your settings up the top here and click that, very simple. You'll see the little circle there where your picture should be. You click on that, you can upload a picture or click on the screen in front of you, pick a picture, upload it. Even if it's not a picture of your face, it's a picture of something. It just makes it a lot more personal. So I would just encourage you to do that. Also, once you've seen somebody in there, or you've contacted somebody in your course, you want to contact them. Remember, you could do that using the inbox. I don't know if you've used the inbox before, but if you go to the inbox, and what you'll find there is when you compose a message, you'll find when it says select course, you'll have that short course there. There's the one that I've got there, so I'll click on that, and then there's the address book. You can get a name from the address book. Now, remember, we talked about this at the beginning about the use of the name teachers and students. You will pardon that because that's the way it works. So students, there's only one there, that's me. But you can pick that student or a number of students and then just send them a message. Very important if you want to get in contact personally with somebody because there's something you want to have a continued discussion with. And remember that message will be sent to them via the way they've asked to be notified, usually email. They can reply to that email via an email and you'll get it probably through your email, but all that conversation will be stored inside Canvas so you can come back to it whenever you like. So I'm just going to go back to the short course now. So that's important. Just if you need to contact people, that's the way to do it. So you can make those contacts. It's important to have good contact with folks. So here I am. I'm on the front page. Just to say, on the beginning will be an introduction. Here's the little chart that Tony was talking about with the days and how long it will take. Now here we don't have any dates, but what will happen here? You'll see that there'll be dates here. Begins and ends 5th of November to 26th. Now your online facilitator might negotiate with a different date depending on your circumstances, but pretty much that'll be the time scale. So that's all I wanted to say about that. So the navigation, very simple. You're just going along here, and if you want to get to the National College module, there are two different ways to do that. The first way to get to the National College module, click that link up here, and the module is within this Canvas course, and it will take that link will take you straight to the front page. There we go. So this is the front page, and you can decide how you get there. These are the different sections: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. So you can go to the sections like that if you like, or you can go through it chronologically. However, if you just want to see the whole module and see what pages there are, on the left-hand side, you've got this link that says modules. You click that link. There we go. So under modules, here we go. You've got these are the pages for the short course, unit A, B, C, D. But here you have the different sections. There we go. It's a bit like an index of a book. So you can browse through there and pick the ones you want to look at. Okay, if you just want to look at the whole module, lots of really interesting things there. But as we said, what we've done with the short course is we've taken the highlights, the really important bits you must visit. But please do explore the rest of that online module. Now, what we'll have a look now is just some of the activities and how you engage with them. So I'm just going to go to, first of all, I'll just show you this one here. Here's the pre-course activity. This is for you to introduce yourself. Just click on introductory discussion. All the discussions in the leading teaching module are between yourselves. The online facilitator won't generally be involved in themselves in your discussions. That's for you to run and for you to challenge and to share with each other. So here's the introductory discussion, and there is Phil, and he's put a little message there already. Now, so it's fairly simple. You've probably seen these sorts of discussions before. If I want to type an entry in, I click on the link there. I can type my message there. But as Tony mentioned, what you can do, if you prefer, you can actually upload a video and audio, but you can record it straight into Canvas. You don't have to do it outside of Canvas, then upload it. So if I click on this link here, where it says record, upload, media comment. So it's got my webcam tagged there. I'm just going to allow it to access my webcam. Don't be shocked at my image there, colleagues, when it pops up. There we go. Hello, everybody. There we go. So then you just can click anywhere on that little picture to record. Then there we go. Hello, everybody. I'm recording it now. And then when I'm finishing, I just click it again, and that's it. Oh, and then I can save it, or I can record it again. And there you go. It appears there as a media comment. I can just post that reply, and hey presto, given the amount of time that takes. There you go. So there's my response there as a media file. I can do that audio as well. I don't have to do it visual. I can also just using the audio as well. But I'm just putting that out there. Something you might want to explore. Also, as soon as you make a contribution, you become subscribed to the discussion, so you will automatically receive any responses within that discussion, and you'll probably get that via email, so you can respond via email. It goes through the same sort of process. If you want to just to reply to someone specifically, there's a little reply button underneath everybody's contribution, and you can go back to them and, as I say, reply to them specifically. Okay, I think that really does it for that. Now, just thinking about then the individual discussion, and that's really all I'm going to show you this evening, because I want you to have the joy of exploring this yourself. I'll go to Unit A. There are 3 individual discussions, 1 for each unit. So here's Unit A. So you get a bit of blurb at the top, then a little bit of theory. That's the Sutton Trust report from 2014, excellent report. You don't have to read all of it, but look at the main points, but it is an excellent document. And here, for instance, Activity 1, access Section 2 of the full module. So you can click that link to get to the module, or remember, you click on the modules one there. You can get to it a lot quicker that way, I would suggest, but it's up to you which way you want to get to the module to have a look at it. And there's the discussion for Activity 1, and then Activity 2, 3, there's a video to watch. But down here, you'll see Activity 4, making use of data. You've got to go to Section 3 and read the section, making use of data. And you're going to watch a couple of videos there, Katrina and Michelle. Could I just make a point while I'm doing that? Because some people get a bit they lose their way. If you want to find that, it's the section under Section 3 that says making use of data. So if I go to modules and scroll down to Section 3, there it is. There, see, making use of data. If I click that, and that will take you straight to the right page, and you'll be able to see the videos that are there. There we go. So it just take a little bit of time for all the images to load in. Oh, there they are, starting to come in. So that's Nicola, that's Katrina, and there's Michelle. Okay. And then to get back to Unit A, you can either go through the modules page again, or I'm going to just hit the home button. The home button will always take you back to the front page of the short course. So I'm going to go back to Unit A. So down the bottom, then on Unit A, here we are. There's the one that they have individual discussion for each of the units. So I click on individual. I'm in as a student still. I'll click on this, and there we go. You will see something like this. So this enables you to you're going to put in your submission. You're going to submit. Now it says submit assignment. It's not an assignment. It's just you initiating the conversation in some way. So it's asking you to reflect on how you plan to use data as part of your school improvement task. So you click on submit assignment, and then you'll see down the bottom here you've got a little box that opens. So you can either upload a file, because it maybe you've written it down in Word and you want to upload that. That's fine. Or text entry. You could do a text entry straight into this text box. Or you can do the recording, upload of the media as we did before, but I'm not going to do that just in case. Or if you have already have a video and audio you want to upload, feel free to do that as well. That might be appropriate in some in some way. So there you go. So you've got that opportunity, those three ways to initiate that conversation. So I'm going to put hello there. There we go. There we go. And I'm going to submit that assignment. Very deep and meaningful comment I've got there. There we go. So you'll see at the top right-hand corner, it tells me I've turned it in. And also, if I want to, I can resubmit that initial conversation that takes place there. Now, I just wanted to what will happen is that your online facilitator will receive that and will look at it, and then they will comment against it. And what happens then is you're able to have a conversation, as it were, via the comments. Now, on the left-hand side of the menu, I just wanted to show you a couple of the places where you can, what Tony was talking about, the grades. So if I click on grades here, there we go. So you can see here for the ID that assignment, it's got a little T there, so it tells me I've contributed something there already. And that way you can just check that and all the activities that are going on, that you've actually covered them all. So that's a handy way that you can see what is happening there. And if I click on this this little assignment here, the one I've just done, there we go. So remember I said that you'll start having a conversation around it, but here you go. So on this side, your facilitator will make comments which will appear over here on the right hand side, and then you can make comments around about as well. And you can also, as we've said before, upload a media comment if you want to, or attach a file. So that's where your conversation will take place. Okay, and it'll become fairly evident as you move on. You'll also be notified if they make a comment by email. So you can actually either come in and make a comment, or you can reply to the email. So it's very, very sort of flexible like that. But that will be your ongoing individual discussion with your facilitator. And as Tony said, only you and the facilitator will actually see that. So that covers really how to use a discussion tool, which I'm sure you've used before when you in the Learning Network, how to use the individual discussion, and also grades. That's where you can check up to see what you've completed. And when the facilitator considers what you've done as complete, they'll mark it complete, and you'll see a tick appear against those assignments. Now, just finally, just here under review, and Tony mentioned this previously. So first of all, we'd like you to carry out an evaluation survey. That's really, really helpful to us. Just make sure we get an idea of your experience and any areas we can improve. Marking completion. You can mark your own completion of the module. Once you've got all your ticks there in the box, all you need to do is go to your MPQML Learning Network community and then go to the task page. Right, here we go. Courses and groups, over to the Learning Network MPQML 6 community, and then under tasks, you're used to this already because you'll have done this several times before. Down the bottom there, module completion. See there, module completion, leading teaching completion, self-certify your completion here. Click on that, and then you'll do a short survey. It's very short, basically just saying I completed this, and then that'll be marked complete against your name in the grades in the learning network. There we go. So you'll take the survey, and it'll say, I completed this. You get the idea there, I'm sure. Right. Now, as you go through then your online short course, any problems, contact your online facilitator. They're there to help you, and they're really great people, really, really good. Any technical issues, call the help desk, and again, they'll be able to help you with any problems that you might have. But I think in terms of the short course, that's pretty much it. So Tony, as I say, there didn't seem to be any other questions around it, which is great. Colleagues, I just wanted, before we go this evening, I just want to remind you that we do have if you've got a mentor and a coach at school, and you think that they might benefit from this short course we're running, it's a 4-week course. I say 4 weeks. It's 1 week looking at models of coaching and mentoring, 2 weeks offline practicing skills in their own setting, probably maybe with you and somebody else, and then the last week is just looking at reviewing their experience and next steps. It's really for people who want to get core skills in mentoring. We're charging only £99. We have to cover the cost of the facilitator, But if you're interested, or you think you're not, you might be interested, but if you think your colleague might be interested, we're starting on the 9th of November. All right then. Well, thank you, colleagues. As I said, this session has been recorded, and we will share that recording with you and the PowerPoint slides. So just want to say thank you so much for being here this evening, and thank you very much, Tony, for your input this evening. And we wish you all well in your studies, and look forward to seeing how you do in your online short course that starts this week. So good night, everybody. Have a good evening.